New cases have been identified in a mumps outbreak at USD this week. So joining us this morning, Dr. Chaffoo, with what this means. Dr. Chaffoo, good morning. Always good to see you.
Good morning, Shally. Good to see you.
All right, here's what we've been talking about on the news today. 5 cases have been diagnosed. Do we expect to see more?
Yes. You know, the CDC has actually defined an outbreak as 3 or more cases that occur and that are linked in time and place. And certainly the problem is that, you know, last year, Shally, in the entire year, there were about 1,000 cases of mumps that were reported. And so far this year, in only about, 3 months or so, we've seen about 250 cases. So this is certainly something quite concerning. Part of this, Shally, is that a lot of the people that got their immunizations in the late 80s and early 90s only really got the one shot of the one immunization. It's actually a 2 immunization treatment. So a lot of younger adults, perhaps going to college, may be not adequately immunized, and that may be responsible for why we're seeing a larger number of these cases.
How long will this remain a concern at USD and in San Diego?
So, Shally, we know that that mumps is something that can occur, of course, any time of the year, but certainly the most important thing is to see your healthcare provider, at the school, your clinic, your physician, to find out, do you need an immunization? Because we know that people that don't get immunized for something like mumps being a serious viral illness, they can get problems with hearing loss, they can develop problems with encephalitis, meningitis, certainly can affect the reproductive system, so you can develop sterility in extreme cases. So it's very important to make sure to go and talk to your healthcare provider, go to your clinic. The immunizations are actually offered free at your health center, and so you want to check in and make sure that you're up to date with your vaccinations. If you're non-pregnant, if you're in school or healthcare worker, you have no serious medical problem, and you haven't had those 2 immunizations, you probably need to get immunized. You need to get in and get that checked out.
All right, Dr. Chaffoo, I want to talk a little bit about this study that came out yesterday. It was alarming for me as a parent, especially I have a baby that's due this coming August, and it said that elementary school children born in August were more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD. What is behind this? What's the study?
So it's a fascinating study, and these Taiwanese researchers, Shally, looked at these preschool age children, and they looked at those that were born in August and compared those to those born in September. And the school cutoff age in Taiwan, many places in the world, is similar to the United States. And what they found was that those children that were born in August were anywhere from 1.5 to 2 times more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD if they were born in August than if they were born in September. Now, the researchers cautioned that what's probably going on is there's a misdiagnosis. In other words, they're comparing children in the same class that are a year younger and therefore neurologically less mature. And of course, as we all know, ADHD is a diagnosis that's not made by any one test or specific evaluation. It's a triad of, one's inattentiveness, impulsivity, and unfortunately, younger children present with a lot of these symptoms and are perhaps misdiagnosed. So the study urged caution that probably a lot of kids are getting diagnosed with ADHD and getting put on medications that perhaps really don't have ADHD.
So the study isn't necessarily then saying that if your baby was born in August, they have a higher chance of getting ADHD. They're cautioning, from what I'm hearing you saying, is that because they're younger and they may have some of these symptoms, they're being misdiagnosed at that time.
And that's the critical point here, is that the diagnosis is very difficult to make in a very young child, because certainly if you compare the child that's a year apart, that's in the same grade level, that preschooler or that very young child that's in that same classroom that's younger is neurologically less mature, and it's going to have the impulsivity, the inattentiveness, the hyperactivity, that you'd expect with a younger child. And you compare them to a child 1 year older, then obviously there's a significant neurological difference. Now, that research group also found that if you took the older age group kids and looked and compared the August and the September birth dates, that data just didn't really pass the smell test, so to speak. So we have to be very cautious about the, the diagnosis. We've seen about a 42% spike in the diagnosis of ADHD in the past 8 years. Almost 1 million children are on stimulants in the United States, and these stimulants are not without their risks. There certainly are problems with loss of appetite, with mood irritability, mood changes, liver disease, and actually suicidal thoughts. So it's a diagnosis that really needs to be taken with some perspective, and it's not a diagnosis that can be made in a very young child unless we have a long history. There are tests that can be done long term to look at this, but the study does recommend caution, certainly, and for parents not to get alarmed that, oh, like for you, Shally, because your baby's getting born in August doesn't mean that the child's more likely to have ADHD than being born a month later.
Yeah, hearing you say that, I think just took my anxiety level from here, like all the way down to here. So thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate you being here. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right, Dr. Chaffoo.